BattlefieldOne Podcast is brought to you by you. Yes, you, the listener. Thank you so much for listening to us, and thank you all the patrons that support our Battlefield adventure. Wait for the middle of the show to know more about Patreon, or go to patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. Enjoy the show.
But then when you've got Angel screaming, Angel does it again. And
That was something, right?
That was something.
I'm sorry, you canceled the support for the game a month ago.
Why would they even host a trade?
I don't know.
And I sit down and he picks up one donut and eats it. So you want to QA games?
When the rubber meets the road, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, I don't like seeing Mario get his skull smashed."
Oh, I would love
It
to see
doesn't
that.
work.
I would love to
Yeah,
see
like
that.
I said.
Good morning, good day, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the best Battlefield-related podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube, and anywhere else you're listening to this podcast. I've seen some of you listen on Amazon Alexa. I mean, I'm not gonna stop you from doing that, thank you. But anyway, my name is Tom, also known as the Lanky Soldier, and today we have an exciting episode about Battlefield. Lots of things to talk about Battlefield, like Battlefield Labs was announced, some EA earnings calls and all that kind of stuff, so not the boring stuff. But we'll talk about that, like loads of things to discuss, and we're just gonna discuss what it means for the future of the game, what it means for the future of the franchise, and we'll see if it's a good thing or a bad thing. And before I continue, I just want to say thank you everyone for listening to our last two episodes. One of the episodes was me covering the thread by a former DICE developer, where he talked about the history of the franchise, all that kind of stuff, and he talked about the future, what you expect in the next upcoming game. And the last episode me and Ray did like a beginner's guide, for people that interested in Battlefield. Because I mentioned that on that episode, that I see a lot of people just, buying the game or whatever the case may be, or interested in Battlefield, some shape or form, and they have no idea how to play Battlefield. So I thought, you know what, it would be a good idea just to do like a beginner's guide type of podcast video or episode, whatever you want to say. And so far, people like it. I'm glad that people enjoy the beginner's guide. We tried to put like as many as basic stuff as we can into that 1 hour episode, and that 1 hour episode became 1 hour and 40 minutes. I think it's our longest Battlefield 1 podcast episode so far. Can't confirm, but I think it's the longest. But yeah, it's just like, it's for new people that are interested in Battlefield, and the feedback we got about that particular episode was really good. Thank you so much. And that episode before that, where I was hosting by myself, I was covering the former DICE developers thread about the next game and all that kind of stuff, and you guys really enjoyed it. The retention levels on that episode were really high. To my surprise, because I usually, when I host by myself, I can imagine people don't really want to listen just me babbling about, Battlefield. Also, sorry if you hear construction or everything in the background. I'm sorry, it's just like I live in front of the construction site, so I'm sorry if my microphone picks that up. I apologize for that. But yeah, I was kind of surprised, because I usually don't expect people to stay long and just listen to me babble about, Battlefield, all that kind of stuff, especially when I was reading the thread, and I kind of thinking like, I could have done that a bit better. But you guys enjoyed it, apparently, because I was being myself, all that kind of stuff. Maybe that was it. But whatever the case may be, thank you guys for listening to the episodes. It was really nice to, see all the feedback, all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, and hopefully you're gonna enjoy this one. Ray is not available for this episode because life, the life is life. Can't really do anything about it. But anyway, for the last 2 months, we've been very consistent. I mean, crap, I'm pretty sure we made an episode for each week now, like an episode a week, I think. This is still a monthly episode, a monthly type of podcast. Remember, the guys, still like a monthly thing. And so far, we released 4 episodes in just 4 weeks, and counting like New Year's and everything, maybe 5. We've been really consistent, but a lot of things have been happening, and we kind of need to keep up, and the growth of of the podcast is very noticeable. So it will be a shame just to not to use that. all that growth, because people are interested. And as soon as Battlefield news are being announced, the new game is being announced, Battlefield Labs is announced, it's like, oh, people start googling like, oh, hey, is there any podcast I can listen on Spotify about Battlefield and hear what people think? Here we are, and we're the only Battlefield podcast that is actually consistent, good, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad you guys enjoying it. So, and all the new listeners, welcome. I hope you enjoy me babbling about Battlefield, because that's what we do here. But yeah, I'm gonna be today by myself, and we're just gonna talk about all the new stuff that happened. Everything that was announced and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. So before we continue, I just want to say that we do have time codes. So if you don't want to listen to me babble the whole bloody episode for a whole hour, I understand that. Use those time codes for a reason. They're there for a reason and everything. So use those time codes. If you want to give us feedback, comments, insults, whatever the case may be, please do use the Google Forms document that is in the description of this episode. Just click on the link and just start writing. You don't need to make an account or anything. You just can start writing, because I understand not everyone has have social media, not everyone has a Discord, and not everyone has want to send an email or whatever the case may be. I get that. So use the Google Forms document to give us feedback. Just start writing and just send it. It's that easy. Join our Discord, of course, that is in the link. And of course, Patreon. But I will talk about that at the end of the episode, because I realized, you're already getting ads about the Patreon anyway. So I might as well talk about it at the end. And let's focus on the meat and potatoes of this episode. So I'll talk about the Patreon later, because also if you're a returning listener, you know the deal. I don't have to tell you much. Join the Patreon. We have some amazing stuff, all that kind of stuff. So do that. So before I continue, let me have a quick sip of water. Right. Okay. So, what happened over the last week and how the community has reacted to all of it? So, 2 episodes ago, I noticed you guys loved that I discussed the community reactions to the news that happened, or whatever the case may be. Last time it was the former DICE developers thread about the next game, and I was reacting to the community's reaction and giving my opinion about it, and you guys really enjoyed that, it seems. So we're gonna do the same thing in this episode. Community reaction analysis will be at the end, and it seems like you really enjoyed it, and I don't know why. Maybe because I did not hold back my honest opinion, whatever the case may be. But we're going to do this again, and we're going to analyze the community's reaction and see what's the temperature, because you guys seem to enjoy it, so we're going to do that. So, here's the plan for this episode. We're going to talk about Battlefield Labs. We're going to talk about the gameplay analysis. There was 12 seconds of gameplay that was shown at the end of this Battlefield announcement video, whatever you want to say. We'll talk about some news that happened, just came out right after the, Battlefield Labs announcement, and the community reaction to all of this. So that's the plan for this episode, and we'll see how it goes. So, first and foremost, EA released a blog post announcing Battlefield Labs. Battlefield Labs is basically, let me talk about the Battlefield Labs. So Battlefield Labs is basically, I'll just go straight. So they released a blog, and they just explained what Battlefield Labs is. It's basically a new initiative by them, also known as, for all Battlefield veterans, community test environment, CTE. So this is basically it, but rebranded to be more marketable, I guess. I understand the word CTE, or community test environment, is not really marketing friendly, so they just took that and they renamed it to Battlefield Labs. So back in the day, with Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1, we had a thing called community test environment for Battlefield games. And it's mostly because it was most like a separate build of the game, and it was just there to play test, the patch, the changes, the features, some experiments before they go, or being decided later on if it's worth pursuing this idea and to release it for the retail game of the virtual version of the game. So that was the CTE. It was just a community test environment to test patches, new ideas, or whatever the case may be. It was a part of the development process for DICE back then, and basically this is what this is going to be for this new game. Back in the day, we always had community test environment after the game launched. For Battlefield 4, it's because the game was broken and needed help. For Battlefield 1, it was mostly because it was like a nice idea that carried the Battlefield 4. So they want to do the same thing for Battlefield 1, but it never came to be the same thing for different reasons. So Battlefield Labs is basically a community test environment that is with the initiative to release the playtest or release the build of the game before the game releases. And that's an amazing idea. It's basically let people get in before the beta or the public alpha or whatever you want to call it. That's fine. Just like apparently the playtest will start in a week or two, and it's basically just to get all the feedback they can about this new game, see what needs to be changed, see what can they improve, or whatever the case may be. And it's basically, a process, like a playtest, basically. It's like, here's our game, tell us what you think. They get all the feedback and see what they can change and so on to improve the game before the initial release. So they haven't announced how many playtests there will be. They said it's not gonna be on a schedule. Same was with back in community test environment. It was never on a schedule because game development is a bitch. That's what it is. Game development is a bitch, and there's no point promising you, you to the player a consistent playlist schedule because you never know what's gonna happen in game development. Something will break, or maybe they'll find a new idea they want to implement. They will need more time or whatever the case may be. It just happens, So they announced Battlefield Labs. It was basically a whole blog post. And before I go through that blog post quickly, I just want to mention the video that was attached with that blog post, and that I really enjoyed the video they included in that blog post. And basically the video was like a 4 minutes and 12 seconds, basically 4 minutes of talking heads talking about the history of the franchise. They're announcing their future ideas, future initiative for the franchise. They announced that things called Battlefield Studios, and basically it's just like talking about Battlefield as a franchise. And then the last 12 seconds is the gameplay footage of the new game. A little teaser, like what you expect from the next game, all that kind of stuff. So I went through this video. I watched, of course, the first thing I did was watch the video before I read the blog post, because blog post is blog post. I kind of want to watch the video first, then read the blog post, to get more details about it. So I watched the video as it came out, and loads of talking heads, loads of interviews, so, loads of important senior people talking about the next Battlefield or just the Battlefield franchise in general. And they basically talk about the vision they have for the future. What's the vision for Battlefield franchise, that kind of stuff. And let me tell you right now, I really like this video that they posted because it basically showcases what we're dealing with for the future and what's the tone is for the next game. Overall, we learned nothing that new. Loads of corporate shiz, loads of nonsense and like, oh yeah, Battlefield is this and that, and we're introducing Battlefield Studios and all that kind of stuff. It's all corporate jargon and all that kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it's a well-produced video. It's a well-produced video. I love the aesthetic. I love the theme of it. I like it just shows like, hey, this is what the next Battlefield will feel like, and I'm glad they're going for that aesthetic. So I've been saying for the last couple of months that no matter how good or bad the game is, I said for the last months, if not a year, that I had a feeling, like you can go to our previous episode podcast episodes and go through it, and which you should because they're really good episodes. And I literally said many times, I have a feeling, no matter how good the game is, I think they will nail the aesthetic of the game. I think the presentation is gonna be on point. And so far, the first ever video content we have for the new game, just overall aesthetic, the presentation, and everything they have for this game, so far it's really good, really promising. I really like it. It's a really well presented video. I love the aesthetic. I love the glitch effects and everything. Like, it has a specific colors, like dark gray, a bit of orange, and like the logo is white and the text is white. Like, there's already a theme they're going for. And I already like it. I already like what they're going with this. So the corporate video, this is whatever the case may be. Yeah, it's loads of empty words, all that kind of stuff. Just fluff words. That's the word I'm looking for. It's loads of fluff and everything just to fluff you up. Like, this is what we're doing for the next game and so on, which is fine. But the aesthetic, I love it. I really love the aesthetic. I love the presentation. I love everything they talked about it, because it sends a good message. It's, there's loads of things. For example, I was like, people say like, oh, we had this thing with, we're gonna talk about it later, but about the community reaction. But for example, people say like, we had this for Battlefield 2022 and other games. Yes, you're right. But even then, I was watching all those videos back in the day about 2042, the pre-release stuff and all that kind of stuff. Even back then, I was like, something doesn't feel right? Like, I had that feeling back then. Granted, I already had people telling me into my ear, like literally whispering into my ear before the game came out, like many, many months ago, before even the game was announced. Like, former developers and everything telling me, hey, the game is not gonna be that good, so I think you should lower your expectations, because I'm not hearing good things. And I was like, what do you mean, 2042? Like, that's the game I always wanted. Of course it's gonna be good. Why would it be bad? Yeah, well, now, was it 4 years after the game came out? A different perspective, right? So even back then, I was like, but even then, like, I was like, something's not feeling right, even if people were telling me in the year, but something did not feel right with the presentation of the game. With this, I do feel something. I do feel something that it just feels right. Something feels like, yeah, this feels like a Battlefield type of thing to do. Like, it just... So this video is a good sign. So that article that Vince Zampella did to IGN announcing like, hey, 64 players, some weather effects coming, like, we tight maps with the nice play space and all that kind of stuff, like classes are back. Vince Zampella is really good at PR, and everything he said at that IGN article many months ago, was it many months ago? Yeah, it was September. So when he talked about that and everything, it was good. Everything he said was really good and the right things to say. And this video comes out with, Byron Beatty, Vince Zampella, and other senior DICE developers at Ripple Effect, DICE, the DICE developers. Anyway, all the developers they can find, like important people working on this new game. They talked in the video, and they basically said, like, yeah, this is our vision for the next game. And so far, I am hearing the right things. So far, they tell me all the sweet little lies, or whatever the case may be. They tell me the right things, and I really enjoy what they said. Yes, it's a corporate video. It is. Loads of corporate jargons and, all that kind of stuff. It's like, it's very fluffy for a reason. Yeah, I agree. I fully agree with that. But everything they said was the right thing. So Battlefield Labs is announced, right? They announced the Battlefield Labs. We're going to play test the game and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. That's great. I remember talking to developers that ran CT back in the day, Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1. Like, developers told me, like, many times, like, it would be great to have CTE before the game comes out. It would be a really amazing thing to do, because it will help them so much, in gathering the feedback and just squashing all the bugs and, everything, because we have so much data to track. It's like, it's such an amazing opportunity to do that. So, never happened until now. So, I'm so glad that CTE, or Community Battlefield Labs, is a thing now, because we can test the game before it comes out, and they can gather all the feedback, everything they need. So, I personally enjoyed this announcement. I personally enjoyed everything they said. And we'll talk about the gameplay footage that feature about the next game later. But overall, I like the video. It was well produced, well presented, and they clearly see the team, they set the team for this game. Like, they know what they want, the music, the glitch video effects, the colors, everything. So far, I love it. I said many months ago, and like I said, I sound like a broken record. I did say they will get the presentation aesthetics right. So far, no complaints from me. I'm eating all up like a good fanboy that I am. Daddy EA, take my pre-order, Take my bloody pre-order, Daddy. Daddy EA, please, give me that pre-order. But jokes aside. So, I love the video they made. So, let's go through this blog quickly. They have this FAQ, which has a lot of information about Battlefield Labs. So, what is Battlefield Labs? Battlefield Labs is our most ambitious community collaboration in franchise history, launching as we enter a critical phase in development. We want to build Battlefield with our community. So as I'm reading everything from this blog, just so everyone familiar, So it's a space for play and exploration, an environment where we can test concept and mechanics with our players before we release them publicly. Our community is at the heart of Battlefield. Their feedback is crucial in helping us know what to prioritize, what to improve, and what feels like an authentic Battlefield experience. Why is Battlefield Labs launching now? Battlefield Labs is launching now as we enter a critical phase in development with what's next for Battlefield, where we are looking to cross-collaborate with the community like never before. Now it's time to test big areas of the experience our teams have been building for the upcoming launch. How can someone be part of the Battlefield Labs? Sign up available at Battlefield Labs, battlefield.com/labs, battlefield.com/labs ahead of our first external test sessions in the upcoming weeks. Interested players can also join the Battlefield Discord server for most up-to-date before you sign up, blah blah blah. So basically just saying you can sign up for the playtest, go to battlefield.com/labs or EA playtesting website and just register and see if just register that you're interested. So the thing about this, when this came out, that sign up page and everything, right? I registered just fine. Like it took me just like you click on the survey, on the website. You click on the website, you do a survey, and you just basically register. And just like, yeah, we thank you for showing your interest in the playtest. That's it. That was easy for me. For me, I'm European. I live in UK, so for me it was easy. And I'll notice a lot of Europeans also got really easily, like with no problems. But for some reason I noticed that Americans that try to sign up for the playtest, they had queues that are like large. We're talking. The last time I checked, it was like 250,000 people tried to sign up for the playtest, and they're basically in a queue. Some people got like kicked out because they would stay in the queue for too long, or whatever the case may be. It was insanity. I don't know if I just got lucky or us Europeans had like less traffic because it was the middle of the day. Us Europeans maybe like working in the middle of the day or whatever the case may be. But I know Americans are more hardcore community when it comes to Battlefield. And it's a different topic entirely, so I'm not going to talk about that. But basically, the Americans had a queue. I noticed that. Like 250,000 people trying to register for the playtest. And the playtest will be limited. There's going to be only a few thousand people playing this upcoming playtest. So there's going to be a lot of disappointed people, but that's the reality. That's the server capacity they have, and I understand that. Also, I understand NDAs and what, like they want to control the narrative, which is fine. I get that. And that's understandable. So, but yeah, you can. But also I have to mention, if you do sign up late, like if you sign up now, like when you listen to this podcast, if you're listening on Patreon, you're getting this 3 days early. But if you listen to this on a public forum, which is the BattlefieldOne podcast on Spotify or whatever the case may be, you still can sign up, and that will not determine your priority in signing up. This is all going to be random. It's going to be all random. Or not even random. Well, random to us, but to them it's going to be like they're going to pick specific people with a specific type of criteria because they want a specific type of feedback, for the playtest. So it's not really, it doesn't matter if you register now or later. As long as you register and you're interested, you have a chance to be participate. Also, no one's saying that they're not going to, expand the player base numbers later on, in the playtest because like, hey, we need more players or whatever the case may be. That can happen. So anyway, how can someone? Yeah, okay, I read that part. This is the most interesting part. What platforms will the Battlefield Labs will be available on? Battlefield Labs will be available on PC via the EA app, PlayStation 5, PlayStation Plus subscription required, and Xbox Series X. Xbox Plus Core, formerly known as Xbox One, is required. Anyway, so the game is available on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X, which is the current gen consoles. That means, at least this is a good indication. It's not officially confirmed, but it's a good indication that says, hey, we're not releasing this game on all generation consoles. If that's the case, thank fucking God. Thank God that's the case. Because I said many times ago, like many episodes ago, and I'm still gonna repeat this. the game needs to go. We can't keep releasing games on old generation consoles anymore. I'm sorry, it's just not enough. Those consoles are basically 15 years old. We can't not do that. It's enough. Like, time to move on, people. We can't support old generation consoles for that long. You know, like, we're already flirting with the next gen consoles, with PlayStation, 6 and next Xbox Series and so on. You know, we're already flirting with that. Like, it's time. And PlayStation 5 was it already 5 years old, I think, if not 6, whatever the case may be. Oh no, it came out during COVID. So yeah, 5 years old. We're already flirting with the next gen consoles. I'm so glad. At least it's a good indication that this game is not coming to the all generation consoles, and I'm really, really happy about that. It's gonna be somewhat next gen experience Battlefield, like a proper Battlefield experience. I want to imagine. Is Battlefield Labs invite only or open to the public? Battlefield Labs is invite only. Sign up available, blah blah blah. Okay, cool. So it's a closed playtest as usual. It's invite only. So that's like I said. Go register. You might get in. Maybe you're lucky. Whatever the case may be, we'll see. Is Battlefield Labs open to all regions? It's only available to Europe and North America so far, but as time goes on, they will expand the regions later on after these initial playtests. How many people will actually participate in Battlefield Labs? In what countries? Again, yeah, this is the same thing. Europe and North America. For now. So, like I said, once invited, how often the participants will be able to play in the Battlefield Labs? If you are selected, you will receive an email from EA Playtesting with more details about getting ready to play and how to share feedback. There will not be a rigid cadence for test sessions, but the plan is to run sessions that are appropriate times for different players at different regions, and allow for repeated testing every few weeks. Test sessions schedule will be predefined and communicate directly to the Battlefield Labs participants ahead of them taking place. So basically, like I said before I started reading this blog, I told you a lot. It's not gonna be on a schedule because game development's a bitch, and it just stuff happens. So you can't really predict that. So but they will let you know when the playtest is, so you can prepare in the future. So you're not gonna be like minding your own business in the middle of the day, and it's suddenly like, oh yeah, wake up, honey, a new Battlefield build is there for you to play. It's not gonna happen like that. They will let you know in ahead of time, so you can prepare and be ready to play the playtest. What kind of gameplay experience will Battlefield Labs participants get? An early test of concepts and mechanics before public release. Anyway, like I said, there's nothing important here. They'll playtest the game and everything. But what I have to mention from this is that each playtest will focus on a specific feedback. So they will try that's how it was back in Battlefield 4 CT and Battlefield 1 CT. Whenever something was released in Battlefield CT, it was always like, can you please give us feedback about this and only this? Because that's what we want to do. And this is going to be the same thing. So there's no plan or whatever. Just like they have a plan what they want, what kind of feedback they want, because they don't feel like, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe not confident enough about this particular feature. So let's test it out, see what people think about it. So that's how it's going to be. There's no schedule or anything. It's mostly make sure that everything they're making, everything they're producing is actually in good condition, and people actually like that. So they're gonna force you to focus on a specific type of feedback that they want, and that's normal. That's just expected. Right. How will the Battlefield Studios development be gathering feedback and sharing that? Right. Is there anything important here? Let me look quickly through. The Battlefield Studios development teams will be looking at all the feedback provided during and after Battlefield Labs tests to inform what we need to prioritize, what needs to improve, and what we need to change to make it authentic Battlefield experience when we release it publicly. It's just jargon, nothing whatever. What sort of feedback the Battlefield Studios development team is looking for from Battlefield Labs? Like I said, they will focus their feedback on something specific, something that they want to focus on, because they're not sure if that feature or mechanic or gameplay feature, whatever the case may be, is not that confident with the player base. They want to test that out and so on. Will those invited to Battlefield Labs will be able to speak out and show it, what they played? So this is what I said. All those invited to join Battlefield Labs will need to sign a non-disclosure agreement (NDA), as they will not be permitted to talk or show anything related to the experience with Battlefield Labs. This is what this is what gets to me. So we know playtests will happen. We know it's gonna be a thing. You will be able to install the game, and people, for example, that know how to, go through game files and everything, they will start digging through and everything, and then probably leak stuff and so on. Like, also someone's gonna be streaming the gameplay because they're fucking morons. Because they expect, like, oh, if I stream the Battlefield playtest and no one's streaming, I'm gonna get all the views. Sure, you get banned the next second, boy. I mean, that happens. And so I don't know if NDA. I kind of get why NDA is there for a reason, but it's not gonna stop people from leaking. As soon as you put in a wild, people gonna leak it. The gameplay is gonna be shown to everywhere, and like, listen, some people don't care that their gamer tag is gonna be flickering on the screen when you're gonna be in the game, so the developers can ban that person, their account or access to the game or whatever the case may be. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen. When you launch the game, your gamer tag is gonna be floating around the screen. It's gonna be part of the game, so you can, even if you stream or record and try to hide, you can't, because it's part of the game. That's how it's gonna be. So that's how people, that's how, people's accounts get banned when it comes to playtests like that. So that's just expected. So, and some people don't care about that. They're just gonna make, a dummy account. They apply with a dummy account. They got access, and they're just gonna stream it and just done. That's fine. It wasn't my main account. Who cares? Some people do that, and the gameplay will gonna be leaked, and everyone's gonna be judging the gameplay. So I don't know if the NDA is really necessary. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's a reason, like a legal reason. Maybe it should be there, to protect themselves and so on. I kind of get that, but I don't know. It's just one of those things that I don't think it should be a thing. I don't think it should be a thing, because it's just like whatever. So then they show the specs. What kind of specs you need to have to run the game on the PC version of the game. And I don't know if you really care. You can just go read the blog yourself. So who cares? Right, they talk about what is Battlefield Studios. Battlefield Studios is the banner under which 4 world-class game development studios across 2 continents came together to build the future of Battlefield. To make our vision for the future of Battlefield a reality, we had to think bigger than just one studio. We rallied 20 plus years of Battlefield experience, combined them with the best emerging talent in the industry, and united them under a single banner, Battlefield Studios. Basically, and these studios are Ripple Effect, DICE, Motive, and Criterion. Each studio is focusing on each particular element in the game. So DICE is making the multiplayer, which is basically the core features of the game, like the main foundation of the game, which is the multiplayer. Ripple Effect is doing the not leaked. So I can't even say if it's leaked or not. It's just like rumored, I guess. Battle Royale, which is being led by former Call of Duty Warzone lead developer, Byron Beatty. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Motive is doing the single player, and Criterion is basically helping them around, helping all the studios with the content or whatever the case may be. And apparently Motive is doing some multiplayer maps, but that's like, what, when all 4 studios are working on one game and they all focus on one thing, something is gonna be, interchanged or whatever. So like, it will be shared, like, Motive maybe will make a map or 2, while DICE is making a majority of them. Criterion is, for example, making like a single player mission and making a multiplayer map, whatever the case may be. It's like, that's what happens with when 4 studios are working on one game. It's like some of the work will be shared, for obvious reasons, because they all in this together and they help each other, all that kind of stuff. And you know what? This feels more stable to me. Battlefield Studios. Sure, it's just a marketing name just to sell the idea that instead of naming 4 studios at once, we'll just name it Battlefield Studios. So a casual will understand that, hey, this is made by a bunch of studios that work on Battlefield. This is all for marketing, and it's fine. So it's what I'm reading about this and everything I experienced and heard about Battlefield Studios. I'm just gonna say this is everything they talk about in looks and everything, it looks more stable than Call of Duty under Activision. So with Call of Duty, we already know. Well, you maybe don't know, but Call of Duty Studios, which is Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer Games, Treyarch, and maybe even Beanox and Raven and so on. There's a lot of studios that just don't want to work with each other because they want to make their own Call of Duty game. They don't want to like make a platform or whatever the case may be. Warzone is the platform for Call of Duty, and every year we get integrations with the new Call of Duty in Warzone, and it changes basically the mechanics, the aesthetics, whatever the case may be. It changes the game to that current year Call of Duty. So last year we had Modern Warfare 3, and the whole Warzone was built around Modern Warfare 3, you know, and now we have Black Ops 6, and Warzone is under the Black Ops 6 foundation. So everything that was in Black Ops 6 transferred to Warzone because it's basically the same game. And the previous Modern Warfare 3 Warzone we had last year is not a thing anymore because they replaced the build of the game, you know. Sure, all your stuff transferred to the next game, but this only shows that there's so many problems with the integrations with Call of Duty Warzone. A lot of people in the a lot of people in the Call of Duty community are asking Activision, listen, you need to separate Warzone and annual releases. You know, Warzone's supposed to be its own thing. You know, it's supposed to be its own thing, and you can't just do an annual reset every time with a new Call of Duty game because it just creates problems. And yeah, Warzone right now is not the greatest place right now. It has loads of problems. Also, I'm not a fan of Black Ops 6 in general for many different reasons. I don't like the aesthetic and the gameplay elements, some of it, and it's in Warzone. I had to deal with that, unfortunately. So, and also because studios don't want to, you know, work with each other because they want to make their own games and everything. So it's a big problem. But here with Battlefield Studios, they're all working on one game instead of each studio working on their own game. So DICE is making the multiplayer, Replace Effect is making the Battle Royale, Motive is doing the single player, and Criterion is just helping. You know, it's just helping. So that's more stable than Activision is with Call of Duty. So I'm kind of interested to see where it goes. But yeah, so this blog post they talked about Battlefield Labs. The key takeaways is that community involvement is very crucial. You can sign up to the playtest. It's closed and you will have to sign NDA. It's available on PC and current gen only. And in each playtest will have a specific feedback goals. Those are the key takeaways from this blog post, you know, about the Battlefield Studios and Battlefield Labs. Good stuff. So far, I like it. I like everything so far they said in this blog post and in that video that I mentioned. Hey there, listener. I hope you enjoyed the discussion we're having right now. Before we continue, like I said at the start of the episode, I will tell you all about our amazing Patreon that is helping us keeping the show going. Patreon.com/TheLankySoldier.
Some Patreon exclusiveness. We here at Patreon would love for
You sound like every nerd in all the like 90s TV shows.
First, I want to thank every single person that joined as a free member or subscribed to our Patreon in the last year. The support was amazing and only motivates us to continue with our Battlefield adventure.
He does this knowing full well how much I hate AI generated shit.
Yeah.
He does this on purpose.
This is what we call capitalism.
This is his way of getting my ass in order to just make money real quick out of nowhere to buy a fucking webcam.
By becoming a patron as a free member or subscribing to any tier, you're not only supporting the show, but you're also getting a lot of content back. By subscribing to any tier, you'll get ad-free early access to all our future episodes. You can already listen to our previous episodes ad-free by just joining the Patreon as a free member. No more waiting, no more interruptions, just pure, unfiltered Battlefield content straight to your ears before anyone else gets to hear it. We're also giving you behind-the-scenes look what goes into making Battlefield 1 podcast or any other content we're producing. From planning sessions to recording mistakes and everything in between, you'll get an insider's perspective of how we bring each episode to life. And the reason why I'm saying
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's your fault.
It's all my fault.
It's all your fault, Ray. How did you ruined the whole show? We need to cancel it again.
Just gotta can it for another 8 months again. Just appear out of nowhere with
we need to cancel it again. Ray, what the did you do? And that's only Battlefield. We're also offering access to our exclusive Patreon podcast series, Live Gaming Gathering. This is a show where me and my friends gather together to talk about everything in the video game industry, to movies, to anything else that is on our minds. With more than 30 episodes already available, this is hours and hours of content for you to listen. Trust me, they are the most fun and amazing conversations we ever had because it's just us being us, relaxed and actually having fun.
Alright, I think we need to move on because we've been kind of on this subject for about the last 15 minutes now.
Yeah.
We got a couple of things in order.
Are you feeling better now? Let this
Yes,
thing off?
Yeah, you got that
I
off
do
your
feel
chest.
I do feel better. Oh no, wait, one more thing. For example, Angelo.
damn.
No, we were in
I'm not
discussion.
going to mention any names.
We also believe in keeping our patrons informed, so I post monthly updates to let you know what to expect in the upcoming month. So you'll always know what to expect in the future if you're not sure about the content we're posting. And just recently, we opened a new Discord server where people can talk to each other and get all the latest updates about our content or the Lanky Soldier channel. Please find a link to that Discord in the description of this episode or our Patreon. No subscription needed for that. And because we're confident that you'll love the content we're creating, we offer a free trial that you can use anytime. We believe we're making good content that will make you stay in the long term, and we will not be offering free trials if I do not believe that.
Do y'all hear that, major advertisers that aren't listening right now? You can do tasteful ad breaks.
BattlefieldOne podcast was rebooted back in March 2023. We learned a lot of lessons from our previous shows that consist of 41 episodes, and we've been building an amazing foundations for the future of this current show. There's a reason why we're the best Battlefield-related podcast available on Spotify and everywhere else. So if you want to support the show and get all these amazing extras, go to patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep delivering the content you enjoy. Thank you for being part of our small Battlefield community, and we look forward to seeing you on Patreon. Now, let's go back to the show. Now, let's talk about the gameplay footage they showed. The 12 seconds of gameplay footage they showed at the end of the video. So, my initial opinion, the first thing I can see is this. Battlefield 2042 Foundation is there for sure. And I will talk about that in a moment, but I'm just saying this. Battlefield 2042 Foundation is definitely there. This game was definitely built on the foundation of Battlefield 2042 because animations are the same, gameplay, the mechanics look the same, the gun, is pretty much the same. Okay, so the gun is kind of new, I can tell, because I don't think we have it in Battlefield 2042. It's like the M416, if I remember correctly. But the way your character, the character aims at something, it has the same aiming effect or same visual aesthetic, or whatever you call it. I don't know how to describe it. Like a mechanic, I guess. It's literally identical the one from Battlefield Portal. It's like, I can't describe it. It's one of those things that you have to see it with your own eyes. Like you compare it and it's basically the same aiming animation or aiming mechanic, or whatever the case may be. It's like you can tell it's from Battlefield Portal. Like you know how they ported Battlefield 3 they remade Battlefield 3 as characters and guns and everything in Battlefield Portal and basically ported to Battlefield 2042, and the guns did not feel part of the game because they feel a bit different and so on, and so it has a bit of clunkiness or amateurish feel to it. So it's basically that. So I can't explain it. It's really hard to explain, but it's basically that. Battlefield 2042 all over the place. But is Battlefield 2042 Battlefield 3 somewhat inspired with no blue filter? And you know what's funny? Someone mentioned that someone found out that this video they released, the announcement of Battlefield Labs, is literally on the same day when Battlefield 3 teaser trailer got released. So Battlefield 3 teaser trailer got released on 2011, 3rd of February. This was released, the Battlefield Labs announcement was released 2025, 3rd of February too. So on the same fucking day. So someone in marketing knew that. So and the way Vincent Pella talked about, that on that IGN article, how Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 are like the pinnacle of Battlefield in his eyes, and that's what people talk about mostly, the good old days of Battlefield. And what Vincent Pella said in that IGN article, we look at Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 and thinking, that's what people like most. And then you see this footage they showed of this new game, is like, I can see Battlefield vibes in there. I can see that. It's 2042 Foundation, but it's Battlefield 3 inspired, but the whole aesthetic of the game so far, what they showed in that video, I love it so far. I love the soldiers. I love how sure, gameplay is a question mark and so on, but the destruction is there and all that kind of stuff. And the aesthetic is great, like, and so on. And they use the Battlefield 3 theme song, with this gameplay to accommodate this gameplay clip, or why would the clips like video, why would you want to call it? They use Battlefield 3 theme song just to showcase this gameplay footage, and released on the same day as the Battlefield 3. Yeah, so we clearly going for the Battlefield 3 vibes again. That's obvious, like which I'm okay with. Honestly, I'm okay with. Now, the worry is from this gameplay moment. So we have to keep this in mind before we even talk about any of this. This is pre-alpha. This is just still early days. Things will change and all that kind of stuff. What you've seen is just early days of the game. Early days of the game. Don't take it at face value. Things will change. Especially with the Battlefield Labs, with the playtest and everything we're going to play, things will be different. Things will change. That's obvious. So don't take this footage as how the game is going to look when it's going to be, the game is going to launch. The animations, for example, it was confirmed by Devin Serland. These are placeholders. These are placeholder animations because it's not important right now. And apparently animators are working on something else, and they will make the game to be unique to its, it will be a unique game and so on, and that's the thing. So, which is fine. If David Serling confirms that, and it's like placeholders, and the game will change, like, it's fine. Like, that's what I'm saying. I that's why I don't want to judge it too much, but also I don't want to bash Battlefield. Listen, I hate Battlefield 2042 with passion. I hate it with passion. Like, I hate that game with absolute passion. But I will not deny that the even though the game feels floaty, it doesn't have that, like, inertia, doesn't have the weight to it and so on. It doesn't feel that good, but it's fine. If that's the feeling they're going for, for the next game, you know what? Not my favorite, but I will not hate it. I mean, people have to remember Battlefield 3 was also kind of floaty. It kind of was. And then we have Battlefield 4 that was a bit more grounded, which is fine. I mean, is that what they're going for? It's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's a matter of opinion, I guess. As long as the game is good, that's all it matters. But David Serland confirmed these are placeholders. Animators are working on new animations and so on. So we'll give it time. We'll see. Also, the way he described is the reason we have these placeholders in the first place. The way he described the situation is basically when you start a new project, right? Like on Frostbite Engine or whatever the case may be. The way I understand it is like it's like Unreal Engine. So when you when you load, it could be any game development point at this point. Anyway, when you, like, for example, you download Unreal Engine, right? You get Unreal Engine, you want to make some games, and before you start, you can have templates, for on Unreal Engine. You can have a RTS template, or a third-person template, or first-person shooter template, and so on. So you just basically, you pick that template, and you have some basic stuff to make your game, and from there you can start improving or making the game you want. Oh, you can change the animations, change the movement speed, all that kind of stuff, and so on. I'm so sorry if you hear a plane in the background. That is one loud freaking plane above my head. But anyway, so that's the thing. So it's funny that I think Battlefield 2022 was basically the update, because we did hear a lot of engine updates happened with Battlefield 2022. So it's basically Battlefield 2042 mechanics were basically the standard now. When I say the standard, I don't mean like oh, this has to be now. No, it's just a template at this point. It just became a template in the Frostbite engine, and you know what? It's okay. It's fine. It's like that's how he described it, and from there we can work on and so on. Like, game development. It's normal. So I have no problem with that. My biggest worry is, though, when Vincent Pella was talking about on the IGN article about the maps and everything, and I'm looking at this gameplay footage, it still doesn't put my nerves at ease, because I'm worried the maps will be a bit too small and too chaotic. Because the way he talked about on that IGN article about the maps, it made me kind of worried. And I said a couple of episodes ago to Ray, like, I'm kind of worried about all of this. Because he said, like, we want to design tight, nice playing area and so on. Like, the word tight, like, got to me. Like, I hope you're not going to create very claustrophobic and small maps. And that's my only worry. And I'm watching this gameplay footage, I'm thinking, I mean, yeah, the whole clip, the whole gameplay footage was filmed like that to create chaos. It's a teaser trailer, so you want to make it as chaotic as possible. You want to show all the best parts and that money shot. So I understand that they try to go for that claustrophobic feeling, like, oh, you're in a war, you're running with soldiers and everything, like there's barely any space to move around because it's a war and so on. I get that, but this gameplay footage showed me like, I hope the map looks small, but I hope that's not the case. I really, really hope that's not the case, because we don't see the full map. We only see like a small glimpse of the map and like one area of the map or whatever the case may be, but it doesn't look, looks very tight. I don't want a Battlefield map. I don't want, okay, here's like, if it's only one map or two from like, I don't know, 7, it's fine. Because I want a variety of maps. I want big and small maps. I want a nice variety of different maps to play. But if all of them are like that, that's why I'm getting worried. So I hope it's just my paranoia speaking, and I hope this gameplay footage is not the indicator of what kind of maps we're gonna get. I just want a nice balance of maps. I don't want Operation Locust on every map, right? I don't want that. So yeah, but the deal is there definitely for sure. But again, pre-alpha, things will change and so on. So no point talking about it. So that was the gameplay footage they showed. I like it. Battlefield 3 inspired. I'm okay with that. Perfect. I like the soldiers. I like the aesthetic. Like I said, I'm glad I was right. I'm so glad I was right that they nailed the aesthetic. Perfect. So let's talk about some news that happened after the Battlefield Battlefield Labs reveal. After a day or two after the reveal, news started to come out. For example, we got a confirmation from a friend of the show, Flagfire, who made a video, and he said that he was on online presentation with EA before Battlefield Labs were revealed, and developers confirmed to him that Battlefield Portal is coming back to the game. Now, I talked to some people in my Discord, actually. We talked on my Discord. You should join the Discord, by the way. We talked about the Battlefield Portal being added. Ray likes the idea, because me and Ray kind of like the idea of Battlefield Portal existing, because it's a really cool feature and cool thing to have, because it basically gives people to create some game modes, whatever the case may be, some modes, whatever the case may be. It gives the opportunities for people to create something amazing that is not the vanilla game, Battlefield Portal as an idea is a fantastic idea. Like it's an amazing thing to have in your video game. Me and Ray will always praise the idea of Battlefield Portal because it's a cool idea. Now people say like, some people said that I talked to they're gonna why portals? They're gonna waste all that energy and resources and spread themselves thin, and they're gonna be half-assed job and so on. The way I'm looking at this, because the foundation is Battlefield 2042, and that foundation is basically the whole Frostbite engine, because that's the template, basically. If Battlefield Portal is part of the template, what's the problem then? It's not. I don't think it removes the. You don't have to make new maps for Portal. You don't have to make, Battlefield 3 again, or Battlefield 4. Well, yeah, you can. You can make, maps and everything, remake maps from other previous games and port it to this new Battlefield Portal. You can. But the inclusion of Battlefield Portal being a thing in the next game, it doesn't mean all the resources are spread thin because they started working on something else on the same time. No, if it's part of the template, I don't think it's a difficult thing for them to do, just to port all those features back to the new game, right? If the foundation is still the same for this new game, why not? what's the problem? If it doesn't take much effort, yeah, keep Battlefield Portal. Because the thing about Battlefield Portal is it's not the maps or the characters or the guns, whatever. The main important part of Portal, why it makes it interesting in the first place, is the tools they give you to make something you want in Battlefield Portal. You don't need, Battlefield 3 or Bad Company or Battlefield 1942 maps, or even for this case, they can remake Battlefield 4 maps, Battlefield 1 maps, Battlefield 5 maps, or even Battlefield 22 maps, You don't need to remake maps, because Battlefield Portal is not about maps and the content, it's about the tools to make something that you personally want to make. And if it's part of the template, I see nothing wrong with that. So I'm glad Battlefield Portal is coming back. And thank you, Flagfire, for confirming that it's coming back, because I think it's important. I think it's important to keep, because Battlefield Portal it's an amazing tool, and there's nothing wrong to use that tool to your advantage. Yeah. Battlefield Portal kind of extended Battlefield 2042's life in a sense. So, yeah. So, that's Battlefield Portal. So, thanks to EA's marketing emails, it is revealed that, at least at this point of time, unless they're gonna change it, the new Battlefield game will have 4 classes: Assault, Engineer, Support, and Recon. And as you're hearing that, you're probably thinking, well, Assault is Medic, right? Right. From the email, it seems that Medic is being combined into Support. So, it's people say, so basically Battlefield 2042 classes. I personally do not mind Support being a Medic guy and an ammo guy, because the word support, right? I personally don't have a problem with that. But a lot of people, it seems, as I was going through the community temperature and so on, how people feel about it, people say it's not a really good system, because it just kind of creates Assault the selfish class, and Assault doesn't need to rely on Engineer or Support or Recon to do the job well. Well, Engineer and Support and Recon have to kind of rely on each other to perform on the highest level, while Assault doesn't have to. I don't know how I feel about that. That's what people are saying, but I have mixed feelings about it, because I don't see the problem with this system on a surface level. Maybe foundationally, maybe I see like a problem too, but it's such a I don't know, like I have really mixed feelings, because I personally, if the Battlefield 2042 never had specialists and it was just classes, and this is the class set we will get, I don't think it's a bad system, honestly. Listen, I have a lot of problems with Battlefield 2042, but their distribution into especially into classes and everything, I don't think it was a bad idea. Specialist to specialist, that's a different topic entirely, but when it comes to the class distribution, I don't think it was a bad idea. I think it was fine, but that's how people see it, so maybe I don't see something that, maybe I'm kind of blinded on this one aspect of the game. I don't know, but I don't mind having a, medic being support, as in medic can give you an ammo and health at the same time. I think if I remember correctly, in Battlefield 2022, you can select an ammo box, but you can select a small pad, a small bag of either health or ammo or something like that. So technically you can do both, but one of them is it has a small pouch and the other one has a big box, that kind of stuff. So there's a bit of balance, I guess. I don't know. It just depends. I do see what people are trying to say here regarding these classes, that medic should be part of Assault, because it makes sense for all the classes to work in synergy. I see that. I fully understand you. I understand where people are coming from. I get that. But at the same time, I don't really see the big problem here. There's nothing wrong with Assault being the more selfish class, the casual class, whatever the case may be. I don't see a problem with that, and I don't think that's a problem, because it's a class for a reason. But I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that, so I have no opinion about it. Also Battlefield Labs and we're gonna play test. People will give feedback, and we'll see what kind of gadgets and everything these classes have. Maybe it works just fine, and no one will care. or it will be a complete disaster, and DICE will have to change the classes, to accommodate the to the feedback and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't have any big personal feelings about it. I've seen a lot of discussion about this, especially on Discord. Well, it's just like not my thing, I guess. Like I don't have a big strong opinion to lean on. I'm kind of neutral about this. So after all this, investors call happened. EA investor call. And the most important thing that happened is, or mentioned in EA investor call about Battlefield, there's some mentions about Apex and everything, but we're gonna focus on Battlefield only because it's a Battlefield related podcast. We're gonna talk about that. So when it comes to Battlefield, EA says that the response to the playtest and the announcement of Battlefield Labs has been overwhelmingly positive, and beyond their expectations. Well, 250,000 people trying to sign up to the playtest. I think I think that's the sign, the indication you need to understand where he's coming from regarding with that. Andrew Wilson is talking for EA in this case. So overwhelmingly positive and beyond the expectations. Good to know. Good to know that people are interested in Battlefield. But that's not the important part. The more interesting news bit from this investor call is this. At the moment, the game is scheduled for fiscal year 2026, which is between now and April 6. April 6, 2026. Meaning, there's a possibility that we might not be getting a game this year, which I want to talk about. So, the reason why this is interesting to me, like if they say this is the fiscal year which ends April 6th, next year. So in a year, and everyone's still going like, well, regardless, this is gonna come out in November, October, like it always does, right? Because they can say everything they want and so on, and it's gonna come out. Because they're still working on the game, but that's the deadline they have, internally. You know what? I'm gonna go a different route this time around. Because when it comes to previous Battlefield game releases, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 2042, by now, which is, all these games came out October and November. By now, in February, we would know by now that the game is coming out holiday season, which is autumn, from September to December. By now, we always knew the game was coming out by that time, because that's what EA said in their investors calls. The game is scheduled for holiday season 2020 something, right? Or what the year was back then. We already knew by now when the game is coming out. We never knew the month, because, again, maybe delay or something like that happens. We don't know, but we knew the timeline. This time, we don't know the date. They give a whole year. By now we know, they would say, yeah, the game is scheduled for holiday. No, Andrew Wilson said this game is scheduled for fiscal 2026. On top of that, Andrew Wilson says that he's not against pushing the game beyond fiscal year 2026, which he says it all depends on the competition. He literally says he doesn't want to place the game in the middle of the competition that might hurt sales. And he basically said this is the biggest Battlefield they ever built so far, and I have to believe that. We're talking about 4 studios working on individual parts of the game. Also Ridgeline Studios that got closed down a year ago, that probably took a good hit financially. That's another story for another day. It's really expensive game. It's really big and expensive. I can see that. This is not like Call of Duty, Infinity Ward or whatever, or Treyarch working on Black Ops 6 or Modern Warfare title. This is not the same. Big studios and everything working on, on one game. Yeah, it makes sense. We're talking 4 studios with that are quite big studios working on just individual part of the game. Yeah, I can see the game is being expensive. So I can see why EA is probably thinking, we can't really, after all the negative stuff we had with Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 2042, they realized, hey, we cannot just expect an instant success from this. So, and some people with brains, with some brain cells, probably Byron Beatty and Vince Zampella, probably telling EA executives, listen, this is the budget of the game we have. This is what we're making. It's gonna be expensive. We cannot release the game when GTA 6 releases or any other game or whatever the case may be, right? Like we need to find the perfect launch day for this game to maximize the income of people buying the game. Makes sense, business, right? It's all business and everything. It all makes sense. But this is the first time ever that I hear EA is being this vague, not giving the somewhat concrete release date. So my prediction is, because I have a feeling this game is not gonna come out this year now. After all this Battlefield Labs announcement, playtesting, all that stuff, gathering feedback and everything, so on, and judging by the gameplay footage, so on. Yeah, they had some time to make the game and so on, but clearly they are so behind on certain things. But it's always like that. But it's like the game development in general. But they're clearly behind on certain aspects of the game. And there's a reason why we did not get somewhat a concrete launch window for this game. So my prediction is we're not gonna get a Battlefield game this year. I'm actually starting to believe that we're not gonna get a Battlefield game this year. It's gonna release like March next year. That's my prediction. 2026 March. And he even says he's not against pushing the release of the game even beyond April 6th. So by some reason we might get a game during the summer. Or even next year, we're talking 2026 autumn. He's okay with that. So if he's okay with that, that means I don't think we're gonna get a game this year. I can't believe it, but I don't think we're gonna get a game this year. It sounds like it, but the positive thing about all of this is that playtests will happen. Even if I get the access to the playtest, someone's gonna leak it. Someone's gonna leak the gameplay and everything, and I can talk I'll sign the NDA. But if it's in the public, being discussed by other community members, I can technically discuss what is being, talked about in the community. Just because I have the access to the playtest and I sign NDA, yeah, I'm not gonna leak it because I signed NDA. Of course not. But if the community, the playtest is talking about the game, that got about the gameplay that got leaked, as a podcast host, it's kind of my responsibility to cover those news that are being leaked. It's just gonna you see why the NDA doesn't make any freaking sense, right? You see why I mean? It doesn't make any freaking sense. But I'm not breaking my NDA legally. I am safe from that kind of stuff. So that's how you go around. If someone else leaks it and they talk about, but as long as you don't talk about your experiences and everything about the game, and you talk about everything you read or see online, you can talk about that because this is not you. It's nothing to do with you. That's why NDA is sometimes on these playtests doesn't make sense. But the reason I'm talking about the playtest now is because if we're not getting a game this year, which seems like we're not, look, I have a feeling it might be 2026 March. I have a feeling that's going to be the date. I don't think we get this year because the kind of the signs are there. The way he talks about it, the signs are really, I never seen anything like that so far when it comes to Battlefield franchise. So it's really interesting. So if we're not getting a game this year, but we are getting Battlefield Labs playtests on a, let's say, maybe monthly basis, every 2 months, every 3 months, whatever the case may be, and we're gonna see how the game is being, shaping up a year before the release, Because from what I've seen from the gameplay, you can judge, like, yeah, like, loads of placeholder animations, all that kind of stuff, biggest Battlefield ever, yeah, we heard that before, but for studios under someone else's vision, like Pirate Beaters and Vince Zabella's vision, like, and from what I'm predicting, we still don't have a name for the game. And what I think, from what it seems like, the impression I'm getting, I think everyone else is getting the impression, what's the game is going to be called? I think it's just going to go called Battlefield. I think this is a reset for the franchise, which I'm actually really glad about. I always want, like, after 2042, I've been saying that I think the franchise itself needs a reset. And if this game is just called Battlefield, great. I have no problem with that. Battlefield just becomes... I know you all hated the live service stuff, all like, it becomes a platform for the future and so on. I know you all hate it. I know that. But we're gonna get it one way or another. So the least we can do is maybe work with that somehow. Like, okay, if we're doing a live service game, what kind of live service game we can do that is actually good, right? And creating a reset for the franchise, a game called Battlefield, which basically becomes a platform for the future, like Ray said, adding content and so on in the future, like expansions, all that kind of stuff, like a la Modern Warfare 3. It's not really an expansion, but it's not really a new game, whatever the case may be. Like, there's ways to monetize this fairly without ripping off your customers. There's ways you can do it to make a great game with a good live service that everyone are happy with. There's ways to do that. So Battlefield called Battlefield, just Battlefield, I see nothing wrong with that. People talk about search results will be garbage, and you know what? Who cares? Just who cares? If it's called Battlefield, people are gonna look for Battlefield. It's simple as that. I mean, the reason you find us on Spotify in the first place is because we called the BattlefieldOne podcast. You look for Battlefield. You don't look for a specific name or whatever. You're looking for Battlefield podcast. We are a Battlefield podcast called BattlefieldOne podcast. That's what it is. I see nothing wrong with the next game just being called Battlefield, and the way that the aesthetic they're leaning on regarding, this new game and so on. I think it's fine. I think I so far I like the aesthetic. I like the presentation. I like the just called Battlefield. It's fine. I see nothing wrong with that. It's simple. It's easy. It's simple to it's easy to understand, and it's easy to get into. A reset for the Battlefield franchise might invite new people to the franchise, which would they need. I think, was it 2 episodes ago I talked about the demographics of the Battlefield franchise. The hardcore community is 25 plus, 30 years old, that kind of stuff, they're not young people, it's an aging demographic. And if you're a big business like EA and you have this big franchise that is Battlefield, one of the biggest franchises in the world, back in the day it was rivaled with Call of Duty, you kind of need to revive the franchise in some shape or form to bring the younger audience, because you can't survive on the aging demographic. You can't. You can postpone the doomsday by couple of years by making, Battlefield 3 remasters or Battlefield 4 remasters. Sure, you can. But at the end of the day, you're still gonna hit that plateau that you just can't do anymore, and it's just like, we need to do something else. So, and Battlefield, this new Battlefield game with integration with Battlefield Labs, with the playtest and everything, this is the only way you can do it right now. And that's why I really have, when I watched the video, Battlefield Labs and the announcement with Battlefield Studios and all that kind of stuff and playtest and blah blah blah, I had more positive feelings from this video alone than I had with any Battlefield 2042 trailers. Yeah, for example, the real trailer for Battlefield 22, awesome. Cool. It was a really good trailer. But something did not feel right. Then you watch the gameplay. Like the gameplay they released, was it the Gamescom trailer, whatever, with gameplay? Oof. Did not look good. I'm sorry. Did not look good. I was like, yeah. I don't think this game is gonna be good. Which it was not good. But I watched this. I watched this Battlefield Labs video, a lot of talking heads, a lot of corporate speak. At the end of the day, you know what? Something feels right about this. Something feels right, and I love it. So, hey there listener, me again. Sorry for interrupting you again, but if you're already this deep in this episode, I presume you enjoy our conversations. So why not check out our older episodes after you're done with this one?
Don't be a don't be a do be.
Do a podcast assault, right? We had some amazing conversations that are still relevant to this day, and we don't want you to miss them out. If you haven't already, go listen to our interview with big content creator you probably know, Westy for example, who was more than willing to have a conversation with us about Battlefield.
But then when you've got Angel screaming, Angel does it again, and
That was something, right?
That was something. But you know what I mean? Like, the two didn't work. Like, you could have done specialists.
Or our recent interview with former DICE developer James Kono, who shared some amazing behind-the-scenes developer perspective on Battlefield franchise.
Listen to this podcast. It's awesome. I love Lanky. He's been a great resource to the Battlefield community for years now.
You're the only person that actually gave any compliment to me about anything regarding that. Long story short, we have some amazing episodes that are worth listening, and we're just happy that you're enjoying our discussions about Battlefield. And again, I want to thank you for listening, and please enjoy the rest of the discussion we're having right now. Are we gonna get the game later this year? I don't think so. I actually and why I mentioned about the NDAs, all that kind of stuff. More content for us. Battlefield podcast, Battlefield 1 podcast. That means we're gonna get so much freaking content to talk about the development of this game. It kind of brings me that good old-fashioned why this podcast was created in the first place. This podcast back in the day was created to update the community with everything that was happening in CTE. That was the whole sole purpose of Battlefield 1 podcast back in 2015 and 16. That was the whole purpose of this podcast back in the day. So if you're listening to our old archived episodes that I've been posting on Spotify, that was it. It was that to update you about the CTE updates, because there were updates on a regular basis. And if Battlefield Labs is going to be like Battlefield CTE, but better, or whatever the case may be, with constant updates about the game development and everything, well, history repeats itself. Battlefield 1 podcast is basically going to be doing the same thing again, updating what's happening with the game, the developers and everything, and we discuss the changes and we give feedback, all that kind of stuff, and we have a nice, interesting conversations about it. It's fascinating. It's like full circle. I freaking love it. It's just amazing. So I'm excited personally, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's my opinion. I'm really excited for the future of this franchise. I'm excited for this new game, even though I can see some signs there that I have question marks, and but I'm cautiously optimistic. So what's the community's reaction to all of this? All this Battlefield Labs announcement, the playtest, the video, the gameplay, everything. So, I've seen a lot of excitement in the Battlefield community from YouTube comments, from Reddit, from Twitter, from Blue Sky, whatever the case may be, every spot I can find where people talk about Battlefield. And I basically got the same feedback from everywhere. So everywhere I went, either public places like Reddit and like your social media accounts or whatever, YouTube's, or private group chats, from your average Joe to big content creators, I gathered the same message being said by everyone. Like every person that I seen and read and every person saying the same thing, literally the same thing. Any self-respecting Battlefield community member is basically saying that same thing. It looks promising, but we've been here before. We were told sweet little lies how a new Battlefield game is a love letter to the fans, or that if we don't like the game, we don't have to buy it and play it. On the right side of history, or brutal expectations of us expecting legacy features like scoreboard or voice chat. There was a lot of quotable, really good quotes by executives and senior leadership people talking about Battlefield, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 2042, Battlefield 1, whatever the case may be. There's loads of quotes from executives and senior leadership people talking about Battlefield that just puts an egg on their face. It's just so bad. so many, we were told sweet little lies and all the, damage control, whatever, about the next Battlefield games or existing Battlefield game. It's like, there was some moments, I remember, there was like, I can't remember which episode was it, but it was one of the early Battlefield 1 podcast episodes. I think it was like, I don't know, episode 6 or 7 of this podcast. I can't remember. I think it was prior season 7 of Battlefield 2042. I think it was prior. And I basically was watching the Battlefield podcast that they had up. I think it's still up on Spotify. I was listening to that, and it just became a gaslight session of the developers basically gaslit the community, like, well, they're not using the vehicles, the calling vehicles, or to cross the map, so like we kind of have to design. No. And I said on the podcast, no, that's not what it is. We don't use the calling vehicles to go around big maps on purpose. It's because when you try to call in a vehicle, you cannot call in a vehicle because there's already a limit reached for 128 players. That was the problem. It's like, play your own game. Understand why people are saying that kind of stuff or why people play like that. That's why you can't rely on data to gather feedback, because the data can be skewed to any different opinion. Like, at the end of the day, you just have to launch the game and play with normal plebs like us to understand the problem. So there were moments where the DICE actually gaslit the Battlefield community to think that they're the problem. No, they weren't the problem. Don't get me wrong. Battlefield community can be douchebags and bunch of cunts sometimes. Don't get me wrong. They are. They absolutely are. But you don't bloody gaslight them saying like, you played the game wrongly. No, don't do that. So we heard many sweet lies before and all damage control back in the day. So that's why I'm saying the community right now, watching this footage, watching this video, reading this blog about Battlefield Labs, all that kind of stuff, and then hearing investors calls like, the game might not come out this year, but but all the excitement we got is beyond our expectations, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's all positive, and people so far enjoyed what they've seen in the gameplay. They enjoyed that the soldiers are somewhat realistic. Like, they saw some British soldiers, they saw some Russian soldiers, they saw some, Abrams and everything. Like, the aesthetic was there. The aesthetic is like, chef's kiss, like a Battlefield 3 inspired thing. Everything is Battlefield 3 inspired. It's like, chef's kiss. It's beautiful. It's just Battlefield 3 to modern times, and maybe they will remake some Battlefield 3 maps for this game. Fuck knows. I would love to see that, but we'll see. Nothing wrong with that. So it's a low-key reset for the franchise, and it's really exciting time. But at the same time, we did hear loads of negative stuff coming our way, or just like oh, this game is gonna be amazing, it's gonna be a love letter to the fans, and then the game comes out, it's gonna absolute dog shit of a game, like probably the worst launch they ever had in their history. So I understand why people are cautious. Me too. I'm like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about this upcoming game, but I can't pretend and ignore all the history prior to this. You have to prove it to us, as Battlefield Studios, all these studios working on their, on this game. You can talk all you want, but if you don't prove that you actually listen and actually produce the goods, to produce a good game, then your words mean nothing. Actions speak louder, That's all it is. Like, damn, that was a loud Discord notification. That's all it is. So, I'm optimistic, but I'm very cautious. I'm really cautious about everything. I'm cautious about the map design. I'm cautious about the gameplay. I'm cautious about all of it, how the game is gonna look and everything. Well, I'm not worried about how the game is gonna look. I think so far they're nailing the aesthetic so far. So I'm glad. I was right about that. So I said a year ago they will nail the aesthetic. They're nailing the aesthetic so far. Gameplay, completely different story. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm with the community. Like, I'm usually go against the community's reactions about everything. Usually because I don't think the Battlefield community sometimes, like, they don't smell their morning coffee quite often to see the full picture when it comes to Battlefield franchise. They want, like, we want a Battlefield 3 remaster, we want a Battlefield 4 remaster, because and I'll play this forever. I'm like, my dude, you're not the target audience anymore, and your money, you only want to spend the money once and then never think about it again and play the same game for 10 years and you still play Battlefield 4. Like listen, I love me some Battlefield 4. But I have 2,500 hours in that game. As minimum. Bare minimum. 2,500 minimum in Battlefield 4. I had my fair share of Battlefield 4 in my life. I don't want to play a remaster of Battlefield 4. I'm sorry, I just don't. Same thing with Battlefield 3. Same thing. I played. Give me new maps. Sure. I'm gonna be bored the next freaking week. So I'm usually against everything the Battlefield community says because I don't think they see the full picture. But this time around, when it comes to this new game and just the whole analysis, how people feel about this, I have to agree with the Battlefield community this time around. I have to agree with the community because I see it everywhere and everyone feel the same. Like I said, from average Joe to big content creators. I talked to big content creators and I talked to some average Joes that are not content creators and I got all the feedback I wanted. They feel the same way as I do. Yeah, it looks promising, but there's still loads of question marks and loads of worries that we just don't know about. We're still very cautious about everything. Yeah, even the first Jack Frax video about this announcement was basically, yeah, looks cool, but we're still not satisfied. We're still very cautious. We're still very jaded about all of this. And if that doesn't tell you how Battlefield franchise is suffering right now from bad releases non-stop, but Battlefield 1 was kind of the start of just making things worse, even though it was a good game, but it made certain things worse. Then Battlefield 5 made things worse, and then Battlefield 2022 was just shoot me in the head at this point, So it's just that's what it is. When you release stinker after stinker and you produce stinker after stinker, even if just with updates or whatever the case may be, just delivering news. As soon as Battlefield 5 got good, you drop the support for the game to focus on Battlefield 2042, and then they get 2042, what was the point, right? We're all jaded. The Battlefield community is very jaded community for obvious reasons. Look at Call of Duty. Call of Duty community is very jaded right now because Warzone's getting shit updates because of the integrations. It's they haven't learned yet, shit after shit, So, same thing with Battlefield community. I'm usually against Battlefield community's opinions about everything, but I have to agree with them. I have to agree with the Battlefield community. Cautiously optimistic. Looks good and everything. But lots of question marks and you're not gonna get my pre-order just because you show me a shiny trailer of the new game. That's not gonna work anymore. You have to showcase with actions that you actually mean what you're saying, So yeah, that's my opinion about this whole Battlefield Labs thing. But other than that, so I'm excited about the Battlefield Labs. I'm excited about the idea of CTE coming back in somewhat updated form. Also more marketable, I guess. And people clearly are interested in the new Battlefield game. So far, positive stuff being said. Starting back in September with Vince Zappello on IGN. Talking about the new game. It's we saying the right things, the PR stuff. He's really good at PR. I did say that many months ago. He's really good at PR and he said the right things. Now Battlefield Labs blog comes out with the video and everything. They say the right things. They show the right things and everything. It's it's fine. So far, all positives. The only thing is that we're jaded and we are really cautiously optimistic because we roared that you're gonna fuck up somewhere. That's the problem. That's the problem, that they're gonna fuck up somewhere. We just worry. We can't just put our stock in this way. Is it gonna be great? We don't know that. So I'm in the same opinion as everyone else. But yeah, so other than that, I got nothing else to say. I'm glad they're listening, at least so far. And I love the aesthetic of the game, and everything's good. Alright, so I'm going to end the podcast. I'm just going to talk about the Patreon quickly. It's just so thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for actually supporting the podcast. I've seen loads of new viewers and listeners are coming our way because of Battlefield's being announced. People are suddenly interested in Battlefield and people are looking for anything to listen on Battlefield podcast. What can I find on Spotify? Let's see if there's anyone talking about Battlefield. And we do talk about Battlefield, so thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for, listening us at the end. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. And yeah, check out our Patreon. We do make some amazing episodes on Patreon. They're exclusive to Patreon and Patreon only, because back in the day we were hosting a public episodes like called Live Gaming Gathering, where me and my friends just gather around and talk about video games, all that kind of stuff, Battlefield, Call of Duty, whatever the case may be, sometimes movies, and we talk about games. And we realized, well, if we want to make this somewhat, we kind of want to be compensated for our work and everything, so we started making those episodes on Patreon. And so far we have 42 episodes of Live Gaming Gathering on Patreon. And last time on the Patreon, let me check quickly, I think we talked about, me and Ray talked about the 99 Problems and Battlefield is one. And the topics for that were basically, we talked about the finals, we talked about Delta Force, we talked about Call of Duty problems, we talked about some Fortnite, and the most important, we talked about that thread that was released by former DICE developer in more depth, because when I was doing a public episode for Battlefield 1, and I was talking about the thread, it was by myself because Ray was working, so he was not available. So we talked on Patreon with his thoughts, and I want to get his opinion, what he thinks about all that, that thread and everything. And for Patreon, probably next week, when me and Ray are going to be recording on Patreon, we're probably going to talk about this Battlefield news in more depth, and probably more stuff is going to come out after this, after I post this podcast, this episode and everything. So something more is going to come out. So we have 42 episodes as bare minimum so far for you to listen on Patreon, just for $4 or $7, depending what tier you want to do, or use a free trial. We have a free trial for you to use. We have a free trial for you to use. If you're not sure, if you enjoy the content we post and make, you can always use the free trial and just cancel before you're gonna get paid. There's a reason why it's there, because I believe what we're making is good. I believe you're gonna stay, and also I believe you enjoyed this podcast that I'm hosting. If you listen to this bit right now, I presume you enjoy what we have to say. So I have a feeling you will enjoy to hear what we're saying on those episodes too. And of course, you get early access to BattlefieldOne podcast. You get early access, ad-free, of course, and all that other stuff. And you also get some extra videos in there once in a while. So yeah, subscribe to Patreon. And it also it's just simple. It's helping us out. Simple as that. It helped Ray in a sense to get his new PC and all that kind of stuff. And sure, it wasn't much, but it helped a little bit. So thank you all the Patreon users that chip in once in a while, to help us out, because it does help us out. And because the more patrons we get, that means I can actually pay Ray to host the podcast with me. We're not full time. Was the thing? We're not full time podcast host. We're doing this on our spare time. We do this for the love of the game, basically. We're doing this for the love of the game. But at the same time, we have a Patreon because we think we deserve, a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, just fucking paying the bills, just paying the bills. I would love to do weekly Battlefield podcasts on a regular basis. Of course, I would love to do that, and we can actually make pay the bills. Yeah, perfect. Patrons so. Thank you guys for supporting our Patreon and everything. Just we doing our best with the Patreon. I keep up. I'm posting monthly recaps and the content we make and everything, just to encourage people to subscribe and I think we're doing a really amazing job. I'm really proud what the Patreon is a year later. We did so many good changes, so many stuff, and just posted so much content. I know some former DICE developers are listening to us on Patreon because they want to hear, even if they join for free, right, as a free member, they're still going to listen to the Battlefield 1 podcast ad-free because I make them public on the Patreon for free. So just join as a free member. Patreon is there to help us out, and it's helping us a lot, and it's perfect. So I do recommend to check out Patreon, use a free trial, see if you like it, or join as a free member. Sometimes we have giveaways. I still have loads of game codes that I want to give away. I have no idea what to do with them. So I guess I'll just give it away on Patreon. I mentioned on the last episode, it's just I'll just give it away on Patreon. I don't know what to do with them. I just don't know. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for supporting us. Thank you for leaving likes. Thank you for leaving ratings. Thank you for just commenting or just interacting. Share it with everyone and let them know that there's a Battlefield podcast that actually cares about the Battlefield franchise, actually discuss the Battlefield franchise openly with no, what's the word, prejudice? I don't know what you call it. I don't know. It's like, we're the best Battlefield related podcast because we talk about Battlefield, we care about Battlefield, we go to the detail about this. So, guys, again, thank you guys for listening. My name is Tom, also known as the Lanky Soldier. Hopefully next episode Ray is going to be joining me because he is not going to be working. Thank you so much. Have a good day, have a good evening. Stay safe, don't be a douchebag, and we'll see you guys on the next one.